From crushing the highest stakes poker games to seeking ancient wisdom across the world, Dan Jungleman Cates has always pushed the limits of what's possible. Now he's on a mission to help others unlock their full potential. Get ready to level up. This is Winning the Game of Life, presented to you by Dan Jungleman Cates.
And I know that Halo 3 is the first game you played, right?
Competitively, yes. I did play Halo 2, in the basement with the brothers and, the whole neighborhood, right? We're playing and gaming and landing and competing and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I actually goes all the way back to Halo 1, really.
I happen to know quite a bit about that. I never played professionally. I thought it was pretty good. I could beat my friends and all that, but I got my ass handed to me online.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you turned this into something that was a professional thing. This seems like incredibly tough, and I don't know what kind of percentile in the world you need to be to do this, but it must be over 99.9th percentile, I'd assume.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're making money, if you're competing and making money, absolutely. It's top 1%, and that's pretty much it. But everyone starts out literally just kind of like you experienced it, where you're beating everybody locally, right? But you're struggling maybe online, or you're struggling when you go to actual tournaments, when you start bringing in other people outside of, your city. And that's pretty much how it is in Halo and in any game, right? You're landing with your buddies, you're playing with all your friends. Oh, you're the best in your high school. It's like, all right, great, that's cool. But now, like, if you're actually trying to win big money and you're trying to make it, like, now you're gonna have to start playing against everyone else who's the best in their state or in their high school, and it blows up from there.
Yeah. So did you struggle? Was there a period where you're like, where you're frustrated and working hard? And then, or was it just always natural? Just always pure ascension?
Yeah, it was definitely pure ascension, I would say. Started dominating my neighbors, my brothers, everyone in the local area. And then online comes out, Xbox Live comes out in Halo 2, started dominating there. Was just really good. Then Halo 3 comes out. I'm dominating even more there online. I'm like, all right, let's start going to tournaments. Started winning money there. And then, made it to the pro level and at the end of Halo 3, beginning of Halo Reach. And then that was when I started my streaming career.
Okay. Were you already making like good money from that, or
no one was making good money? Because unless you were literally winning first place at every tournament, all the way until the finals, like the grand finals, so MLG had a circuit where, first place 20,000, first place 20,000, first place 20,000, fourth tournament, first place 20,000, and then there's like the grand finale. I forgot what it was called, nationals, right? Okay. And at the end of the day, man, like it's. The flop's the flop, the turn's the turn, the river's the river. Like, I don't care how good of a poker player you are, man. If you're not getting the deck, like, people go cold all the time. Like, you can be the best poker player in the world. Like, if I flop the nuts, like, I don't care who you are, right? And that's pretty much. So I think you have to stay humble in poker, man. Otherwise, I think that exactly just what you said. I mean, dude, if you think, oh man, I'm gonna hit this on the river, call like a 3x 4x bet or something, and it's like you're screwed, man. I mean, I don't know what the future of gaming holds, but for me personally, dude, after that tournament, man, I have been obsessed with poker. I had so much fun, just straight addicted almost immediately. I mean, I've been watching it on YouTube every day, 1v1s. I'm watching Heads Up, a lot of the high stakes poker games. I'm watching a lot of the World Series poker final tournaments or final tables. My brother-in-law came and visited. We went to a poker room that's like 30, 45 minutes away. A local poker room is a $220 buy-in. Obviously, like, chump change, but I didn't care because I'm trying to learn how to play the game, right? I want more experience than just like playing online right now. And there were like 80 people, 80 buy-ins, super chill. I got 5th place.
Oh, not bad. Yeah,
dude, not bad. 5th place, man. My first ever my first ever tournament style poker tournament where it wasn't like, it wasn't a cash game. And that was, dude, it was, oh man, it was invigorating. I loved it, man. I played fucking phenomenal. I didn't have a single bad beat. That's how I know I'm having a great day, or I'm just playing really good poker. Is like I don't have any bad beats. I'm not calling something on the turn of the river. I'm not where I'm just literally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is true. The less bad beats you're giving out, the better the general sign is. Right. I think someone told me that when I was just starting out and trying to figure. Yeah, when I was back in my early days, but it makes sense, right? Because the more you're sucking out, it's like the more you have to get lucky.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember I did actually watch the stream a bit myself. And my impression was, I got the impression that you were playing better than the other guys on the whole on the table. I'd have to. I didn't watch the full stream, so I don't know. But it seemed like with a background in gaming and with a bit of an obsessive personality, yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to figure out if you put in quite some effort. It's quite a bit different from other games in certain ways because you have to look at it very differently. It's if that makes some kind of sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. My brother-in-law is he dealt poker for like 5 years. He absolutely loves poker. Like he's obsessed with it. More than me, right? He's been doing the amount of hours he has into it is probably 1,000 times more what I have in terms of experience. And he was here for a week, and I was just playing online next to him for sometimes 4 or 5 hours in a row. And he was teaching me all these terms and things like that, because what I'm lacking right now are the technicalities and the terms. He's talking about range. He's like, and things like that. And I'm like, and dude, for the first 2-3 days, I'm like, what the fuck does range mean? Stop. I don't what do you mean he could have 7-8 because he's on big blind and that's what he's calling? Instead of how do you know he doesn't have aces or ace jack? And he's like, you look at how they're betting. Are they 3xing? Are they 5xing? Are they re-raising? I'm starting to accumulate the minimal knowledge to be able to now use, my gaming talents and actually be able to perform really well. And what I mean by that is when I was sat down at that table, I was immediately looking for tells on people. And I feel like I almost had pretty much everyone down instantly. Again, that night, my only bad beat that I remember that was just horrible was to fucking Mr. Beast to all in me because of what is it when you so the big blind was 200 and they made it 400, then 800, then 1600, and they just kept going around. Yeah, they straddled the shit out of it. And he was he was pot committed basically because he had 24K or some shit. I have ace king. He's at queen 6.
Yeah.
And the flop comes queen 6. And that was the only bad beat that I had. But other than that, I was on point. It felt good. And it was pretty much the same thing at the poker room too. I had great reads on people. I didn't have any bad beats. And it's dude, I'm obsessed with it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you do you plan on playing lots of tournaments, or how do you plan on using this? So you just play and it's fun and that kind of thing. Do you have any ideas for your brand for what you want to do with it, or what are your plans?
Dude, I'm thinking, so right now for me, it's about just getting as much experience as possible so that when I plan on going to tournaments that I'm invited to, I'm assuming hopefully there's going to be another, celebrity tournaments or whatever, where, influencers and things like that. Those will probably, pop up. I think Phil Helmuth's already hit me up, and so is Jason, and invited me to things, and I just don't want to get fucking swindled, right? I'm not trying to go to these tournaments and just get raked, $100,000 buy-in cash game, and I'm just getting fucking railed.
Yeah, I would. I'd have some advice on that sort of thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. So again, I plan on, and dude, I can afford to lose that and be a part of those types of games and just kind of get the experience and have fun. And that's really ultimately what I'm looking for. I think to start is just have fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to continue to take it very serious because I do want to improve. And that's a competitive nature in me. Okay. I'm going to keep going to the poker room that's near me and just keep playing low stakes and just kind of, get my reps in and just kind of iron out the shittiness.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great idea. That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
No, that's the perfect thing to do.
I always love to play video games actually because the older brother is like 10 years older than me. And when I was 3 years old, he got a computer and my sister didn't want to play with him. So he was like bashing on me for so many years. And it was pretty unfair, right? Because I had no chance to win for up to 10 years. And then when I always loved to play games. And then when internet came out and you were able to compete against players everywhere in the world, I just loved it so much. So after high school, I just decided that I wanted to give it a shot. I just realized that there were people like making a living of it in South Korea, and you had to be in South Korea at the time, and it was really tough. But it was something that I felt like I need to take a shot because it's a dream when you're like 18, and you can like make a living playing video games. It's like it's a dream life. So I just tried for a few years and I went all in. I stopped studying. I just played video games and practiced like probably like 12, 14 hours a day, like
14 hours a day.
Yeah. That was just my life. I just loved it, and so I used to go to this internet cafe in Paris and because we were sponsored and the internet was better, and because back then like if you had bad internet it's harder to play, right? And now internet is pretty good everywhere, but so I used to go there and I was just like sleep there and like sleep on the chair and play like non-stop pretty much.
Must have like given you a nickname or something, or no?
That was crazy. And sometimes actually we were sleeping. There was like internet cafe and we were sleeping on the chair because it was pretty comfortable. But one of the owner, he didn't want us to sleep on the chair, so we had to hide in the closet to sleep. And when we were like two of us, it was not the most comfortable, thing. But these were crazy days, yeah. So eventually I managed to qualify for some tournaments in South Korea, and then the producer of there, it was really big, right? So there was like cable channels that are dedicated to like Starcraft. So they wanted to invite me for the show. Actually, it kind of helps that I was a foreigner because two things actually. So because it's like kind of like an exotic flavor from Korean. Also Korean, they like to show up foreigners because they show that they're the best in the world. Because if it's only Korean, mostly all the best in the world, they're Koreans, right? But sometimes they need to invite foreigners. So that was helpful. And I was the first big tournament I qualified. I managed to get second place. So I only lost to a boxer that I'm sure you heard of. Lim Yo-wan is
who?
Lim Yo-wan, his ID is a Slayer's boxer. He's playing poker now, actually.
Oh, really?
So I only lost to him, but back in the days, he basically like didn't lose to anybody for 2 years. So it was like
in Starcraft.
In Starcraft, yeah. So it was like a crazy achievement. I think I was always good at adapting. I was never the fastest with the keyboard and mouse, but I was pretty creative and good at adapting to my opponent and design specific strategies to beat them. I was good at preparing, I guess, which is really important skill for this high stakes game, because if you just play like a random player on a random map, was obviously still really good, but not as good as preparing against specific opponents.
Oh, really? Okay. Then did you use any of that for poker? Because
and also actually what I was good about is ability to handle pressure and be good under pressure, and is this crazy skill actually. I didn't even know it was a skill back then, but like when I go to compete and you're in a stadium and there's like 20,000 people, there's so much pressure at stake. And a lot of the Koreans, they actually choke pretty hard. Like some of the guys, let's say we play in practice games, they win 60% of the game against me in practice, but on TV they win like 20% because they just lose all their capabilities. And like I think it helped a lot with poker as well, because staying calm and focused and being able to handle pressure is really like an important skill set. Right? It's not only how great is your A game, is like how long can you play it and how long can you play it under difficult circumstances. And I think that's something you're really good at as well, right?
Apparently, I didn't realize it was that much of like a thing. I thought it was something you could just practice and it goes away over time. I mean, at least for me, like I've played like countless hours of poker, and you have too. And like I don't know, I don't even focus so much about like being on TV. Like it doesn't feel like even the same as being in front of like less people that are watching, but they're like right in front of you, which is really nerve-wracking, by the way. I don't know if you've ever done that, if you've ever played in front of like a large audience.
Yeah, I played in a stadium where and it was really tough too, because most of the time I play against Koreans, and Koreans, if I played against like a boxer, for example, like every time I make a slight mistake or he does something good, they're all cheering for him. So every time you make,
so annoying.
so it's like 20,000 people, and every time you make a slight mistake, they're all cheering against you, and it's like it can be really tough. Yeah.
You switch from that to poker. It seems like quite a big switch. I have a few thoughts. First one is the pressure for poker seems like it's not nearly as rough, except that now there's real money on the line and you don't know what the other person has. It seems like quite a different game, but it's also way slower.
Yeah, it's way slower, but actually it's not that different because StarCraft is also a game of, I don't know if you ever played, but it's also a game of incomplete information because you have your units and your building, and basically you only see whatever, there's a map and there's a fog of war, so you never see and the entirety of what your opponent is doing, except like the very, very beginning of the game when you scout, so you kind of have to extrapolate, and there's also a lot of mind games because you don't know, from what you see, you have to extrapolate what is most likely strategy is going to be, and then you can be ready to react whatever he does, and it's a little bit like poker, right? Whenever you never see what your opponent's hand, but you see his betting patterns and what he likes to do in general, how he likes to play hands, and depending of the line that he takes, you can just narrow down his range of hands. And in StarCraft, it's a bit similar. Like there's different build orders that you can use, and when you scout your opponent and you see he's doing something, you can narrow down because you can narrow down the tech path that he's gonna take, and the unit combination. Basically, it's about expansion and resource management and a unit combination that the army that is gonna build, right? And
sure,
some of the time it's not, you cannot switch from one army to the other. It takes time because you can see the building and the tech path, and so you can anticipate it by scouting, and that's like a really important skill to be adapting to your opponent and be ready for whatever is doing.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this actually. Poker is really more fundamentally about adapting than even playing optimally. Optimization of poker actually comes from both sides adapting to each other, and then it reaches this conclusion of sorts.
For sure.
If that makes sense. But I did play StarCraft actually. I played Command and Conquer a lot, and I never thought of it that way. I guess those games are actually games of incomplete information. Would you say it helped you a lot with how to learn how to play poker? Because I would think I could see some similarity also in you kind of have to protect your resources and things like that in poker, or you have to protect parts of your range. I guess you could call that similar to protecting your resources.
It did help me a lot with basically the thought pattern, and then just thinking in how you call it, in trees, let's say if my opponent does it in StarCraft, he's gonna be able to do this or that, and I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna try to be one step ahead of him, and it's kind of the same in poker. Sometimes it's people feel like they're thinking they don't think the law of the regular players. They just think they see their hand now. Nowadays, obviously everybody's much better, but when I started playing poker, they just see their hand, the flop, and they just make a decision, and they don't really have a plan for the hand, depending on which turn they're gonna barrel on, which river they're gonna how they're gonna play the hand, depending of the possible cards that will come out, right? I mean, now the game has changed a lot, and everybody is so much better, and so much better, especially as theory. But back in the days, I think that's what helped me a lot when I started playing poker, the adaptability aspect, and that was way more important. That nobody knew what theory, even the good theory was at the time, right?
Yeah.
So there was adaptability, and in StarCraft is also super important. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I have a couple other questions. So were there a bunch of StarCraft players that tried poker? Did they have much success, or were you more of the exception to that rule?
Yeah, a lot of them, they played poker and they became pretty successful. Actually, we all kind of started together at a similar time because StarCraft was so difficult and so competitive. There could only be maybe 20, 30 people in the world who can make a living of it. So when you have this skill and they translate to poker. And poker back in the days, I started in late 2003. It was just I had no idea what I was doing, and I was still winning. So when you have those work ethics from StarCraft, and you can put in a lot of hours, and also what helped a lot is that the hand-eye coordination in StarCraft is enables me to play a lot of tables really fast. So you can get a lot of experience, a lot of skill just by playing more tables. You can play like 10, 20 tables, and you see so many situations incoming, and you get so much experience that it's really hard to match if you play like live poker and you play like 30 hands an hour. You will have to play like probably like 40 times more, right, to get the same amount of experience. So it's like if you play 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day, you get so much experience for that, and I think it helps a lot of StarCraft players. So a lot of them, they became really successful poker players actually, because
Okay.
because it was also like a career path. It makes a lot more sense because StarCraft was so difficult,
Yeah.
and it's so tough to make a living out of it. And at the time, you also had to live in Korea, so a lot of them, they kind of like
It's a bunch of
yeah. So a lot of them, they were like, "Oh, I'm
parameters.
able to stay at home in the US. I can make so much more money playing poker." Basically, like poker, you just have to find players which are worse than you. While in StarCraft, you have to be the best in the world to really make money and be a professional, right? I think it's like the same in most of the sport and competition.
Yeah. That's extremely difficult to make money as like a top athlete or top competitor in all sorts of fields in chess and I know you have to be like top 100 in tennis and like God knows what you have to be in basketball. You have to also be like 6'4" at least and like whatever else. But yeah, I mean, poker's unique in that many people, like you don't exactly have to be, or a lot of people can theoretically make money if the pool is wide enough anyway.
Yeah.
From poker, they can make like decent money though.
Apparently you started off already kind of beating everyone in your neighborhood at various different games and Magic as well, like very young at like 11 years old, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, my peak in Magic was probably when I was 15, 14, but I never played like the official format because it wasn't really profitable and you had to travel worldwide. And back in the days, I had only Moroccan passport, so it was very an issue, and I couldn't afford, like, the cards will change every year. So I focused more on the Eternal format with all the cards, and it was more profitable to me. I was making money every month, and I was supporting myself with that money. So I would say my peak in Magic was probably when I was 15, and then I switched to poker straight away.
But were you able to make any money with that? It still sounded like one of the
I was making probably $400 a month, but consider that in Italy is good money.
That's like pretty good for.
Yeah. Like I had my friends going to the work to the beach 10 hours a day, like getting crash and making $800 a month. Where me, I just played Magic, something that I liked, and I was making good money from it. I had a very tough childhood, so I couldn't do anything that wasn't profitable. Like I couldn't really play the game just to play the game. Often I would get borrow cards to play because I couldn't afford it. But I never asked my money for my parents since I'm probably 9 years old.
Really?
So it was always profitable to me. Yeah.
You had to fight. You had to like fend for yourself at 9 years old. Is that right? Almost.
Yeah, I mean, I lived by myself at 15 already. So, like, he was always trying to make money, and it wasn't a decision, it wasn't a choice. It was where life put me, and, I had many different problems, family-wise and whatever. So, we just tried to get the best out of it. And at the same time, I didn't like the school system. I didn't see myself studying another 15 years to make a normal job. So, I always liked card games, and in Magic, I already figured out that, like if you play better, you will make money. And that helped me to move to poker because like it was just more scalable. And it felt like, I could make way more money in poker, even though it took me a lot of time to make good money, but I started straight away.
Yeah, I have heard basically a number of Magic players switch basically to poker, like V. Justin and David Williams, I think maybe Ike Haxton.
Yeah,
Winning the game.
Actually, a big turning point in my career was like when I was 15, I believe. I had this big Magic tournament in France.
Mm-hmm.
So, I traveled, I went to play, and close to the top 8 was a big field, like so close to getting the most of it. Top 8 is like final table in Magic. I played against David Williams.
Really?
And I was playing. Yeah, it was a big turning point. I always laugh with him about this because I see this guy, he was there, Like, you know, you are at the end, so everybody's super focused. He didn't seem like he really cared. He was there playing for fun. I saw he had the hottest girlfriend I ever seen. And I was like, oh my God, what's the deal with this guy, you know? And I already started to play poker. I was playing in my club in Italy. I was like working as a dealer. And then I asked a friend and he told me, oh, that guy actually is a poker player. He got second in the main event in Vegas. I don't know, 3-4 years ago. He won 6 million and, you know, he was in Monaco playing poker. And I was like, okay. When I went back, I never played Magic again. I was like, okay, like
The poker thing doesn't sound too bad.
yeah, it doesn't sound so bad. Maybe I should focus on that, you know, like. So I always laugh with David about this. You go broke so many times because at the same time you need money to live, and it's not like just bankroll there. But at the same time, I really always focus on developing a skill set. I never was really money oriented. I never really wanted fancy stuff or like anything like that, but just becoming better and better. And then at the end of the day, you know, when you develop a skill set, it doesn't matter. Like you can go hard time, you can go broke, but you can always level down and build it back. And that was like maybe the good thing I did really early was always just be focused on developing a skill set. And at the same time, I really liked probably like you go with your personal experience, go through spots, trying to figure out the problem solving. And I was obsessed with that. You know, I was obsessed with like, really like I would mistake a hand. I couldn't sleep and think about this hand in every single scenario for like 4 hours. And it's just the way I was. And like, that was probably the good thing that happened to me, that I always focus on developing a skill set. And even when I started to win good, because when I was 19, I really crashed the Italian tournament, but I wasn't never enough. I was like, okay, I need to get better. I want to move outside and play.com. And there was the first guy to do it, the first Italian guy to do it. So, you know, it was always like a bigger challenge. And
Well, apparently you found magic. I don't know what happened. It seems like kind of in the opposite direction of like getting in fights and throwing rocks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I mean, I never thought I was gonna play Magic. Like, I mean, it was like my friend like came up with the cards. Like one day, say, oh, this game he bought them in Buenos Aires. When I lived in Buenos Aires, but I mean the capital. He said, okay, let's play this game, and he showed me, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and I love it straight away, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
It seems like a lot of poker players have played that prior to playing poker. There must be some kind of similarity. I played a lot of, you know what I did play? I played these games where you can build up characters and choose whether to be a mage or.
Oh yeah, I like those, like role playing games.
Yeah, I've never played those for money either, but I played some tough ones like Demon Souls and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I was a gamer too. I used to play like Counter-Strike and like I used to play like Age of Empires. Yeah, the thing with like what I try to explain to people about Magic the Gathering is like, imagine like I started playing when I was 17, right? Magic. And poker, all the situations. So at the end, they're like heads up, right? So basically, maybe a hand starts 4-way or whatever, but like the majority of the bots are 1-on-1, right? Magic the Gathering is like you play all the time 1-on-1, and the other guy has 7 cards, between 0 and 7 cards in the hand. So you're trying to know what are their holdings so you can play accordingly. It's exactly the same as poker. The other guy has 2 cards, and you try to play accordingly to see what he has. So we had before like the transition to poker, it was so easy because we were so used to looking at the other guy on the face and seeing what the other guy has.
Oh.
Because you have to figure out what the cards he has in hand.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a game of like reading and all that.
Of course, there's so much bluffing in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Like once there is like a sick play that one guy that was very famous, like the best Magic player ever, he was called Sean Finkel. And this guy was so smart. And one time he was playing like on a Pro Tour or something. Pro Tour is like the highest competition, and he had 7 lands he had like 8 cards in hand, and seven of the cards were lands that they don't do anything, right? So he discarded the only good card, and the other guy just conceded the game because he saw he had like 8 spell in hand, and he actually bluffed him, and the other guy was like, this where he had no way to win. There was so much bluffing, you know, like so many you can do like so many plays like that, like insane plays. So it's basically the same. He was bluffing, seeing what the other guy has. So we were like, I was playing like between 8 and 10 hours a day, Magic the Gathering. Um I was playing on the Pro Tour. So we were like all day with cards in hands, like all day, like shuffling cards, shuffling cards. Like let's say like your deck had like 60 cards, and if I pick up the deck and it had 59 cards that it had like 1 gram difference, I would realize that it was like no valid deck, you know, like with like 1 gram difference between each side, like 61. Because if you submitted the deck that it was 59 cards instead of 60, you would lose a game. So I mean, just by shuffling, I would know if like the deck was like it was missing 1 card, and the cards were like 1 gram.
Really? That's
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I could tell if he had 2 cards more or 2 cards less. It's like just by grabbing it by the weight, because I was like all day shuffling,
Whoa. Okay.
10 hours a day shuffling and training against other guys. It was fun.
Magic player. How did this translate into poker? It sounds like your parents were playing, and maybe you learned from them, or what happened?
No, pretty much it was nothing to do with that. Actually, like I moved to France because there was not like too much Magic the Gathering in Argentina, and when I was there, like this really, I mean, he used to play Magic the Gathering. He used to play, sorry, poker. He doesn't play much anymore. I don't know if you heard about him, Gabriel Nassif. He was Team Poker Stars Pro at some point. He went to America, and all these guys like Eric Froelich, William Shenson, they were like David Williams. He already started playing poker, so he came back to France, and I was at his place, and he was like, "Hey, look, everybody's playing Limit Hold'em because it was the only thing." It was back in 2002, and he showed me, and I'm like, "Oh wow, this is cool." And he started playing like he was playing 2-5 on Party Poker, and he showed it to me, and I was like, he went to sleep, and I say, "Hey, can I play on your account?" And he said yes, and I lost $850, and I couldn't sleep, bro. I was like crying, shaking. I didn't even have money to my name, like. And the next day he woke up and said, "Bro, I'm gonna pay you. I don't know what happened." And then I was like, I gotta get good at this game. And that was the start. And then we all started playing all the Magic the Gathering players. They started playing poker like over there, like because we started talking to each other, and like there was not much money in Magic, you know, and it was so easy poker back then. So anybody that understood a little bit would make money.
Are there any toy games that you have found particularly useful for teaching poker or learning poker that you remember?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. I think that, well, one of the things is that in terms of split pot games, there is a toy game, a couple of toy games we introduced. Now, split pot games are a little bit different. They're like, the strength of your hand is two-dimensional because you have you have the strength of one hand and strength of the other hand, and it's kind of subtle how to play it. You know, people who play mostly kind of one direction hands, generally, you know, you try to put the money in the pot proportional to how strong your hand is. And if you just kind of do that and have a good sense of how much money you're willing to put in the pot, like I'm going to call instead of raise, or I'm going to raise, but if he raises, I'm going to fold, or whatever. You have a sense of how much you kind of want to put, given the strength of your hand. That's like, I would say, approximately right for one-way games. For two-way game, like, you know, split pot games, it's kind of more subtle. Like, if you have the total nuts in one direction and nothing on the other board, you really want to just kind of you definitely don't want to raise people out of the pot. You know, if you get heads up, you're gonna only you're not gonna win anything.
Sure.
So that's while that might be like the same strength of hand as having like a good hand in both ways. You kind of want to play those hands differently. So I think that's a little different.
I've always loved games of like any kind. I grew up playing like card games, board games, video games, everything, and kind of stumbled across poker. Really enjoyed it. I really loved the process of like getting better at things. So I like immediately dived into strategy and got better, and found out that this was when I was 15, 16. But I found out there was these free rolls where you didn't have to pay any money and you could win $10 or whatever, and that was like amazing to me at the time. So yeah, just like started playing free rolls, won a little bit of money there, and then took that to sit and goes was my first niche, I guess. And just did well, built it up in sit and goes, and then kind of outgrew them, and then switched to tournaments.
I'm curious, how did all this happen with the streaming? Do you have like a story behind why you decided to stream, or like how you became so like big at it?
Well, I just always loved watching streams. So one of my biggest vices when I was playing online poker, when I was grinding, was watching game streams on the side. Like it's one of the things I really had to stop doing. So I've been watching streams since like 2008, 2009 online, and I would watch like various video games like Starcraft or Dota or something. So
Yeah.
always loved that part. You know how like some people say that poker is a hobby that they turn into a job and how cool that is? That's kind of what streaming is also for me. So first poker was like a thing I wanted to do and I loved so much, and then I went pro at it and succeeded in it, and then streaming was that new thing on the side. So I built pretty much where I was able to fuse the two and to build like one sort of super hobby that I love doing. So just always had an interest in it. Thought I could be good at it. I just liked talking. I liked interacting with people all the time. So even on social media or whatever. So then I just went for it. I was sick of online grinding. Didn't wanted to do something completely different, and just went for it in like, what was it, 2015 or something. So
What got you interested in poker in the first place?
So what got me interested in poker in the first place is it was kind of simple, to be honest. I was playing games, I was just some kid playing games, and I was able to beat my friends at these games like chess, and then online video games, and like this game called Bubble Trouble, and then
Oh yeah.
a game called Command and Conquer, Minesweeper, things like that. I became very good at them. And then along came poker, where it was this game where I could play it and make some money at it. So I thought, oh, well, all right, now we're talking. And I had heard of this idea of a day job. I was kind of aloof as a kid, but one of the few things stuck with me is it sounded terrible to have like a day job work, 10 hours a day or whatever it is, 9 to 5, 8 hours a day doing something you hate. And I just wanted to be free, and doing what I loved.
It still sounds terrible right now, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's even worse now, I think. I've heard college students are kind of screwed, and it's a lot harder than it used to be. In fact, like jobs are getting harder and harder to get. I hear you have to be more and more
Hey
qualified.
guys, before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
Is Command and Conquer like Age of Empires? Because I would play Age of Empires all the time.
I played that too. It's kind of like that, except now instead of fighting with warriors and guys on cavalry and trebuchets and cannons,
Yeah.
you're fighting with like you drop like a Moab or someone, and there's like a group where it's like the terrorist group, and then it's the Chinese with the nukes and the
So it's
nuclear
like
power
modern
tanks.
military.
It's like modern fantasy. It's not really
Okay.
modern. Like there's like an Air Force. There was an Air Force general, and then they had like the these like fighter jets that would come around and fire a bunch of jets, and like helicopters with dudes fire rockets out of it.
I mean, I have to look into that. Yeah, like my older brother and I were so into Age of Empires. If it's anything like that, I'm gonna love it. But I really like that concept too of like video games that escape, because a lot of those games too have like tons of strategy to them. Like they really require you to think. And that's what I loved about them too, is like, it is like chess. It's not just like go out there and like Call of Duty where you got to go just shoot everyone or whatever. I mean, you got to think during that too. But so it totally makes sense, that kind of natural progression into poker. You said you were like 17 when that happened?
Yeah,
like around then?
Yeah.
Do you still play video games today, or?
Very, very occasionally. I try to, because like a video game and a real game, and well, whatever you want to call it, like something in life, are not really that different if you think about it. It's just the way that you get an emotional high just happens to work out in a different sort of way. It may be a bit more delayed. Like instead of, like, I get you could like hypothetically make a game where you go to the gym and you click a button, you do like biceps and stuff like that, right? You can make a game like this, and there probably are games where you do something similar, like The Sims. But why not just play The Sims in real life? And now you've got like an actual house, and now you've got a career, and now you get the body and all of that. You know what I mean? So it's like at some point I slowly grew out of them, and I started basically like, you know, trying to work myself into the real world, or like real world passions like took over. So I still play them a little bit, but I don't think it's really the way I look at it is it's better and healthier to not spend too much time on them versus on other things. I think that's the right way to look at it. You could say people would go to a certain extreme or moralizing it, where they would say, oh, video games are bad. I think that's a little bit too black and white, where it's like an option, and there's healthier options that are better long term. I think that's a better view, and I'm just more preoccupied with that stuff.
Many people will be wondering is, how do you stay motivated after you win the main event?
Good question. My motivation throughout my poker career has come from different things. It's changed a lot over my career, I would say. So when I started playing poker, I was 16 years old. I had no real respect for money or concept. Like, I was just playing it like a video game, because I came from a video game background. I was playing a lot of Warcraft, Dota, World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, these games. So I was very competitive. And when I started playing poker, I was just trying to level up, basically, just trying to get to the next stake, beat the next guy. I was playing a lot of heads up cash back then. So I was just kind of trying to beat the next boss, stuff like this. So I didn't really care too much about the money. It was kind of like play money in my head. Then I went to university, and I was in school for 6 years, got like a job after that. I was kind of playing poker on the side while I was doing all this to like finance my lifestyle and studies and whatever. But after I finished my studies and got a job, I kind of realized that money has value. Like, people actually work really hard for money. And I realized that, okay, money, because, you know, like pre-Black Friday, money, it kind of felt like online poker was like some virtual ATM, basically, because it was so soft, right? You could just log on and you would not really have that much swings, especially if you were playing heads up and you were kind of selective in the games you played. You just didn't have swings, right? So you could just log on and take out the money that you wanted, basically. It was ridiculous, right? I think a lot of people from that era just regret not playing more, and I've definitely had periods. Go on.
People were constantly saying back then, oh, games are getting tougher, They were saying that all the fucking time. Like, remember the days, like the 2008 days on Party Poker, man? That's what they were saying. Like, and now people say, oh, games are getting tougher, dude. The games are so tough. I mean, that's always relative, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's going to be the thing. In every game or every competitive venue, the ceiling is going to get higher and higher, right? And people are going to feel like, okay, it's tougher than it used to be, and blah, blah, blah. Of course it is, yeah. So when I got back into poker in 2017 or whatever, I had like a new respect for money, where now I was kind of I realized that, okay, if I take this like very seriously and grind hard and study and like treat it more like a job, which I didn't do in like 2008, 9, whatever, I kind of treated it as like another fun game, you know, or whatever. But now I decided I was going to treat it like a job and be very serious about it and blah, blah, blah. And try to spin it up and be able to retire young or whatever. Like, try to secure my future, right? So then I was doing that for a few years, grinding and building it up. And like, I had like my goals and my ambitions and blah, blah, blah. And then I won the main event. And now, of course, that changes everything again, because now those financial ambitions are not there anymore. I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like I was ready to like go on a beach in Thailand and just live out my days there, you know? I kind of felt like I still had stuff to do in poker. I still had like stuff to prove or whatever, like the inner ego or whatever.